Are you thinking of buying They Are Billions? Maybe you're looking for a new city building, procedurally generated roguelike RTS. They Are Billions could be your next game. I'll give you an outline of gameplay, tell you what I think of it, and hopefully help you make that decision. I've already mentioned some things that the game is, but here's some things that it's not. There's no logistics, there's no multiplayer, it's not easy or mindless, and games don't go quick. You can't just jump in and jump out. It's definitely one of those games where you go just one more wave or one more attempt and find yourself watching the sun come up when you need to be at work in a couple hours. It's a game that's more, it's more fun than sleeping. So here's some basics. To do anything in the game takes gold. You get gold by building housing. Whenever you build a tent, citizens immediately occupy it. There's no recruitment mechanic. And they start paying their taxes every 8 hours. That's 3 times a day. You use that gold to build, for example, energy-producing buildings like the mill, and then you use the gold and energy to produce food-producing buildings like a hunter's cottage or a fisherman's hut or farm. And then with more food, you can build more housing. But they're zombies. Tens of thousands of them. Seriously, tens of thousands. And there's 2 ways to kill them. One is by troops and the other is by defensive buildings. You start the game with 4 archers and 1 soldier, and you can train more once you build a soldier center, so it's like a lot of other RTSs in that regard. Your normal peons aren't controllable. The only thing you do is build stuff, order your troops around, research, and on very rare occasions change settings on buildings. The whole map starts out filled with zombies. Every 10 days or so, a wave of zombies comes from one cardinal direction, northeast, south, or west. The direction is random, and as the game goes on, the waves get larger and larger, until finally, the 10th wave is giant. It comes from all 4 directions, and each direction is roughly 4 times larger than any wave that you've seen before. If you survive that wave, you win the map, and that's it. If you win the map at a sufficiently high difficulty setting, you unlock the next map. You choose the difficulty each time you start a new map, and there's no way to change it mid-game, but the default 100% difficulty is probably a bit high. I tuned it down after playing a handful of games and getting overrun around the second wave, so I tuned it down to around 22% after a few games, partly to start learning how games go, to see more of the game mechanics. My latest attempt was 140%, and I won pretty handily without having to do a lot of micro in the endgame. Though I do pause a lot, and it takes a lot longer to finish a game when you pause. Each map has its own challenges, but those are fairly minor compared to just surviving through the waves themselves. The game is a roguelike, which means you're going to fail perhaps dozens of times before you finally beat that first map. It's not the sort of game where you grow your town big enough and then just stop and do combat until you win. It's difficult enough that you need to keep growing, increasing your economy, recruiting more troops, building more defenses, because again, that last wave is like 15, 16 times larger, 20 times larger than anything you've seen before. You can't stop searching for new places to put hunters or farms or sawmills, or looking for new stone or iron patches when you're trying to build stone walls everywhere and recruit some of the endgame troops. Even once you've researched the endgame troops and you want dozens of them, you're going to need and find a lot more oil just to keep those guys alive. Well, to pay them, because their salary is oil. To me, that's one of the highlights of the game, is that you have to stay focused. Although you can pause the game if you want some time to think. You do not absent-mindedly win the game, and hence, when you do win, it's extremely satisfying. There's not really any overlap between the units. No unit is just like that other unit, but stronger. Everything has its place, although it's required some tweaking from the dev to get to where they are, but where they are now is very well balanced. To me, the challenge of the game is the balance between progress and safety. Trying to clear out new land requires putting troops at risk, And whenever you put your troops at risk, there's a chance you won't have them to defend against the next wave. You clear out new property in order to build tents or sawmills or farms, because there's not trees everywhere. You have to go find new trees. You don't have a surfeit of troops, so you try to make do with as few as you can, because if you're spending money and food on troops, you're not building tents. And if you're not building tents, you don't get gold income. And if you don't get gold income, you can't recruit, well, you don't have as much income to recruit troops. As far as the troops go, soldiers are more effective than archers, but they're also more expensive and they make more noise, and noise is one of the big things in this game. If you make too much noise near a village of doom, you'll get a surge of zombies coming out of the buildings, and they try to eat your tents and turn all of your colonists against you. The map starts out filled with the zombies, and they slowly creep towards your city center. Many times I've left one little hole unguarded, and of course eventually a zombie walks through that hole. That's because zombies are everywhere. The game isn't trying, it doesn't look for holes, you just have holes, and zombies hit every square centimeter of your perimeter. Zombies are everywhere. Tents are weak as heck, so a single wimpy 35 hit point aged infected, little creepy Romero-style zombie can just slowly saunter up and start whacking on that tent, and like within seconds, that tent's infected. And every tent is 4 citizens. So as soon as that, well, okay, it's 2 workers and 2 residents. So as soon as that tent goes down, that's 2 more zombies that you have to deal with. That original zombie plus 2 actually stronger zombies. So there's economic reasons to build all of your tents close together, but as soon as one of those tents fall, you've got zombies right in the midst of all of the rest of your tents, and you've got 3 zombies attacking tents instead of 1 zombie. This quickly spirals out of control and ends the game. You can repair structures, like once you recover, you can repair for less than full cost. So it's not a total loss when zombies infect some of your buildings. Sometimes to fight off the infection, you have to manually destroy some of your tents and put up walls. And you end up sacrificing several game days just when you have to do that, because obviously you're hampering your economy, but it's what it takes to fight off the infection and keep the infection from spreading. So far I've put over 150 hours into the game. That's a pretty good return on the game investment. So far, if it sounds like a good thing for you, I can pretty much guarantee that you're going to put a whole lot of time in and definitely get your money's worth. But before you go ahead and hit buy cart, here's a few negatives. It is a roguelike. When you start a game, you choose a difficulty setting. From then on, it's Iron Man. There's never an option to go back and resume play from an earlier save point. So you can't try something tricky or see if your defenses work, and then if it doesn't, go back and try again. When your town hall gets overrun, the game's over. No reload. So depending on how fast you play, this is probably at least a couple hours of play with nothing to show for it other than another reminder that you should stop leaving gaps unguarded.
They are trying to break through.
In summary, should you buy it? Yes, you should. I do recommend this game. It's a lot of fun. You'll spend a lot of time playing. I think you'll enjoy that time. You'll be a little bit frustrated, and then you'll win. And you'll be very happy to win. And the whole thing is a fun learning experience. It's a fun economy game. I do highly recommend it. Give it a try. They are billions, and it's available at the Steam store.